and Video Game Show episode number 247. And joining us on this fine Sunday is Ivan?
Yep.
Keith?
Oh, did I hurt your feelings, Ivan?
No.
No? You sure? You sound sad now.
And Phil.
Hello.
Okay. So what's happening, guys? What are we doing today?
Honestly, just kind of lounging, not being outside in the hot sun.
Yeah, I cooked up some burgers outside, and I tried to stay outside as little as possible.
And it's only supposed to get worse as the week goes because it's just supposed to be raining, which means that not only is it going to be hot, it's going to be muggy.
Yes, as soon as it rains, it's going to heat up, and then it turns into humidity.
How is Albuquerque?
Albuquerque is fine. As long as you aren't outside during the mid-afternoon hours, it's nice and cool. And I am now sitting in a board game store, actually magic board game, everything kind of game store, called Active Imagination. They're being kind enough to let me use their Wi-Fi. Okay, what the hell is Terraria and why should I play it?
Terraria is basically like a 2D Minecraft. It looks like a Nintendo game. The object is apparently to go kill this evil wizard. There is an object to it. We haven't done that. So basically you have the world just like Minecraft. You just kind of appear somewhere. So it's one of those where, okay, now I got to use my axe, go chop down a tree. Then I'm going to take the tree and build a house. And then, make torches. And all the stuff you find you use to craft things. So you're basically crafting all these different items and things to make yourself better. Unlike Minecraft, it's multiplayer. So you can have up to, I think, 8 people playing in a world at a time. And the monsters aren't only there at night. The monsters will spawn above ground only at night, but if you go into the ground so deep, there's going to be skeletons and worms and imps and things like that are all running around down there. But the whole point of the game is to basically wander, explore, find stuff, and craft better items and equipment. It will be a game that I can safely say it's a game that you are not going to be playing for weeks upon weeks upon months of continuous gameplay. Because it is I'm going to go dig, find this stuff, make my weapons, kind of so on and so forth. So you're going to get sick of that eventually. But, we've still been playing it, and we've been getting good stuff. And it's kind of fun. And they have different areas. So you have, your normal place. And then as you go deeper, there is hell. You can dig to a hell level where everything is on fire and there's demons. There is areas known as the Taint, which are like evil corrupted.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's not the taint between your butthole and your testicles there.
Yeah, but couldn't they come up with a better name than the Taint?
It's a 2D Nintendo graphic game. It's actually, I think they call it Corruption. I don't even know if it's really called the Taint. That's what we call it.
Don't touch my corruption.
Because Taint is one syllable and easier to say, and I'm all about ease of things. And then there's a jungle area, and then there's an underground jungle area. So there's all these different areas, and then there's like a sorcerer tower, and they're on every world. It's just a matter of it's where you find it. Each world you create is different and can spawn, random world. So, we've been having fun with it. I know Brian, myself, Fred, Cassie, Sue, Chris have all been playing it. Chris set up a dedicated server that we've all been kind of playing on. We've been having fun with it.
Explain, if you can, because from what I've heard you guys talking about in Ventrilo chat, even though it's multiplayer, it sounds dumb. Like, one person is playing, but then they have to save a file and email it to everybody, and then everyone else has to import a file.
Here's the thing with that. Chris set up a permanent server. So you can just log into his thing at any time, and the world's there and it's permanent. If you want to have that world on your own personal computer, that's when you have to email the world file to the person.
Why would you need it on your computer as opposed to playing it on the server?
Well, we didn't know how to set up the permanent server initially.
Okay.
Then Chris figured it out. My own personal thing is it's not a big deal one way or the other. If Chris is doing something, move a computer, takes it down for a while, just make your own random world and play on it. But some people want to have, because we have the giant thing and everyone has their little places and that kind of deal on Chris's server. So I guess if you really wanted it, Chris could email you that and then you could have a copy of that world on your server.
All right. I see now that you figured out how to do your own server and play on that, because
initially, yes, it was going to be a giant pain in the ass to try to do any of that, which wasn't going to be worth it. But he did figure out how to create that, and I know. But basically, I have 3 worlds that I play on. My world, I have that's just my own personal world that I made that I play single player. I have a world that Sue and I have been playing on, and then there's Chris's world that we log into and play. I know Sue has her own world, plus when we have our world. So everyone has all these different worlds that they're running around in.
Now, can you have one character play in all of these different worlds, or do you have 3 different players or 3 different characters in each world?
You have one character. You can have 3 different characters. You can have one character. The only thing is obviously once you are in a world, you create chests and put stuff to store things in. Anything not on your character stays in the world. If it's physically on your character, you can go from one world to the other. So most of the time you have, your set of magic items that you use. I like to run around with, it's called a cloud in a bottle and a red balloon. So it makes me double jump and jump higher. And I like to bring that crap with me everywhere. But you have so many, you have armor slots, you can craft armor, accessory slots to create stuff. It's a fun little game. I don't know, Ivan, I would have recommended that you got this when it was $2.50 or $5. I would not say for you to get it at $10. I don't think that you would get your $10 worth out of it. It's one of those games, if you like those kind of sandbox, I'm going to run around and make a bunch of stuff, and you're kind of into the discovering the recipes and finding the stuff and making the items, dude, go for it. It's a fun game. We're all having a good time with it. Like I said, this isn't going to be a game that you're going to be playing, like you're going to say, I'm going to get Terraria and play that until Diablo 3 comes out. Yeah. Ain't going to happen. But if it goes on sale again for $2.50, if it's for $2.50, I recommend everybody get it. You will get $2.50 worth of enjoyment out of it, even if you sit down and play it once. It's one of those games where you literally can hop on, play it for 5, 10, 30 minutes. It doesn't really matter. I mean, we've sat there for a couple hours playing it before to get your money's worth out of the game. For $10, if you like that kind of a game, I would say go for it. And if you don't know if you like that kind of a game or not, go try Minecraft. Google Minecraft and try it, because I know you can play that game for free on the web-based thing. If you play Minecraft for a little while and find it enjoyable or somewhat entertaining, go ahead and go with Terraria. I also played Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team for Xbox Live Arcade. It is obviously an arcade game. It's the standard 2-stick shooter kind of deal. Left stick moves you around, right stick shoots. Same vein as any of the other arcade games. I will say this game has very good graphics for an arcade game. It's made by THQ, the same people that did Warhammer, Dawn of War, those kind of games. So it's the same thing. They use a lot of the same voices. It's basically you're one of 4 Space Marines. Basically a heavy weapons guy that's just, here's your gun and you run around and shoot everybody. They have a veteran guy who's like your melee chainsword and plasma gun. You have a librarian who's supposed to be like your melee with spells, and then you have a tech marine guy. They all have their special maneuvers. Think Marvel Ultimate Alliance. As you kill so many things, you build up a meter, and then you could do your fusion or your ultimate power or whatever you want to call that. It's basically you are on a big orc ship, and you're trying to kill all the orcs. So that's literally the point of the game. You run around killing orcs. It's really nothing new. In the sense that, everyone has played the move left stick, shoot right stick kind of a game. It is, like I said, Warhammer 40,000, so it's cool in that sense. The graphics are cool in that sense. A couple things that I am not a fan of is the cutscenes. You can't skip them. Even after you watch them the first time, you can't skip them. And so you're playing, and literally every 3 to 5 minutes, if that, you have to wait for some kind of a little cutscene. Like it's going to show you walk into the new part of the map, and it stops the game and pans over and shows you this is your objective, that kind of thing, and then pans back, and then you can play again. Unskippable. It in my opinion, it's to the point where it does slow the game down, where you're just like, whatever, let me go. And it does slow the game down in that capacity. 2, another thing I'm not a big fan of is no multiplayer online. It's only 2-player local.
That kind of stinks.
Exactly. That's a huge issue with the game, in my humble opinion. And 3, as with most games, the camera can be annoying at times.
Now, is that for only that gameplay mode, or are there like other gameplay modes that you can play where you can get more people?
I played the demo and looked into the game. It's 800 points, which for non-points mathematicians, that's $10. The fact that it's a single-player game only, I did not unlock the full game. I know that there's a survival mode, which I'm assuming is kind of like a Last Stand kind of game. But again, what's the point if there's no the whole thing with this game, I wouldn't buy it for $10. And my main reason for not buying it is there's not multiplayer on Xbox Live. Like I said, there's co-op support, but it's only local. So me and Sue could play because we're sitting in the same room. That in itself, to me, makes the game not worth 800 points at all. It's not worth $10. If it was maybe 400 points, I could see rolling with that. But the fact that it's $10, it's not worth it with no multiplayer. Because, let's face it, by this juncture in time, everyone under the sun already has a game like this on Xbox Live. So unless you are a giant Warhammer pedophile, if you're a Warhammer pedophile and like to dress up like an orc and rape little children, then I'd recommend, I can't even recommend the game then, because I love Warhammer and Warhammer 40,000, and I would not spend $10 on the full game due to the fact that there's no multiplayer on live. So if it goes on sale, which I doubt it will, to 400 points, I'd say rock it. It could be a lot of fun for $5. Not worth $10 in any way, shape, or form. If you want to get it, hey man, go for it. But I'm sure you already own a game like this with the move with the left stick, shoot with the right stick. Like I said, if you're that into it, go for it. But me being a huge Warhammer fan, I am not going to spend $10 on it because of no multiplayer.
Okay, sounds good. What else has been happening? Ivan, you got anything?
Yes.
Oh, you do? Good. What do you got?
Hepatitis C.
Indeed. I ate some poop, and now I have the hep.
But did you at least not rub it in your eye and get pink eye?
Keith and Phil will care much less, but there is a new game for the iPhone and iPad called Card Combat. So if you haven't played Spectromancer, which is available via Steam, you should try playing Spectromancer. It's a very cool Magic the Gathering-like game with less of the annoying things with Magic the Gathering. So one of the things that turns people off on Magic is the complicated rules and the complicated strategy and the deck building and the
annoying people you have to play with that yell at you every time you try to do something.
Yeah, that and the a lot of the cards have a whole wall of text that does
ability 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that you have to study, and then there's mana associated and all kinds of stuff, and it can be complicated for people who want something more casual. So Spectromancer is a video game, actually partially created by Richard Garfield, who was the guy who invented Magic the Gathering. And it's got creatures and spells, and it has mana, but it's all done very nicely. Like you don't build a deck based on a strategy or specific mana things. You've got like fire, earth, water, air, and
summon Captain Planet.
Yeah.
You just got to find heart.
And you've got all of those energies, and you've got cards that are of those energies, but you have a pool of cards, but instead of building a deck, it just randomly takes cards from your pool and puts them in, and as you get 1 mana of each one of the elements per game, and you can cast abilities or monsters over and over, assuming you have the right amount of mana. So if a flying creature costs 3 air mana, you can cast him every time you have 3 air mana. So you know what I mean? It's not one card that you have that you play once.
Is it like Duels of the Planewalker? So you run around fighting things and get cards, and then as you get those cards, they just automatically go into your pool of possible cards you can get?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a way to edit that? So say I get Elf that I just don't want to use. Can I take him out of my pool of possible cards to not get him?
I don't remember if you can do that in Spectromancer.
Okay.
It's been a while. So anyway, that's Spectromancer. So Card Combat is developed by, I don't know if there's like people who were on the same development team that made Spectromancer made this, or if this company just kind of licensed the technology. Because, I mean, they specifically give credit to the Spectromancer developers or so there's some inter-development stuff going on there. But it plays exactly the same way. It's just, it looks a lot... So Spectromancer looks... Some of the card art is kind of meh. And the interface is only okay. The Card Combat interface is a lot better. And all the cards look really cool. They've got this kind of steampunky, kind of worn aesthetic to all of the gameplay and the cards, and you don't just get this little picture of a guy. You get it's this card, and the card looks all beat up, and so the graphics are much better. But it's really, really good. It's like $3 for to unlock. It's a free game that you can play up to a point, and then it's like $3 to unlock all of the game modes and stuff for at least iPad and iPhone. Now, Spectromancer, like I said, is a Steam game with 2 DLCs available for it. I just noticed, but it's a lot of fun with it being like an easier to play Magic the Gathering.
I remember you saying that Spectromancer was fun, and I think I downloaded the demo and I've never touched it.
It's definitely worth it. I like it a lot. So in Spectromancer, you've got like this map, and you start at one place, and you duel a guy, and if you win, you move to the next point on the map. So it's kind of like, I think Duels of the Planeswalker kind of took that approach, where it was like, go from place to place and fight a guy.
Yeah, you would wander around and either have random encounters or...
Right. Card Combat is a little different. You can either you can do a multiplayer game, or you can do a single player game against the computer, or you can do the tower mode, which is kind of like Mortal Kombat's tower mode, if you've ever played that, where it's like this has like 32 levels, and basically it's just a bunch of different guys that you have to fight. So you start at the bottom level. There's no map, there's no moving around, there's no options to fight this guy or this guy. It's you start at the bottom level of the tower, and each guy gets a little bit harder, and each guy has a different kind of specialty magic. So in card combat, you have fire, water, air, earth, and then special. And special can either be holy.
Special is hard because that was the retarded power.
Yes.
So it's special.
These are actually cool. In card combat, you've got death magic, holy magic, machine magic, and what's the other one? Chaos Dominator. Dominator magic is the other one, and you pick what kind of specialty you want to be when you start. So death magic has more cards that deal lots of damage. Like holy heals has all kinds of heals that heal your monsters or yourself. Machine magic has a bunch of like automated guys, and they do like damage per turn. Like you put out a guy and he does 2 damage to your opponent and all of your opponent's cards every round. And Dominator magic is kind of like the blue of Magic the Gathering. It does kind of
misdirection and that kind of stuff.
It does that kind of stuff. So you pick your specialty, and you've got access to the other elements, but the other elements' cards have a wide range of things. I mean, like fire magic is all about fire and firewalls and fireballs that do multiple damage or does damage to multiple targets, that kind of stuff. But depending on what kind of specialty you pick, it kind of tailors the cards in that thing towards your specialty. So if you're holy, you'll have different fire spells than you would if you went death. So it's brand new, and it's pretty simple right now. There's only, like I said, the essentially 2 different modes, the tower mode or the single game mode.
They're going to add on to it, though?
I'm assuming they will. I don't know how well I don't know how well it's selling, because it doesn't kind of give you that kind of information, but Spectromancer I know sold pretty well. It was a pretty popular Steam game, so there's really no reason why this won't do well. But it's really cool, and like I said, if you haven't played Spectromancer, you should check it out, because it's like 3 or 4 years old by now. But the DLC is newer. I didn't even realize there was DLC, which is, let's see, this one was in last June. This one came out. Truth and Beauty is some DLC for Spectromancer here, and it came out June 13th. And it looks like it just kind of adds different cards and stuff. You can get all 3 of those things for $20, or each one is $10 each. But it's a very cool game. I like it a lot. So it's, like I said, it's kind of got that magic. The other thing is games don't take a year and a half. Sometimes, Magic the Gathering, sometimes you can play a game and it goes super quick, or other times it's like a stalemate. There's almost never stalemates in this game, just kind of by the nature of the way things are done. You kind of so you build mana every single time. In Magic the Gathering, you have to draw and play a land card or some other kind of card that gives you mana, and then you can only cast spells based on what kind and how much mana you have. In Spectromancer, you get 1 point for each element every single turn.
So if you have nothing that you could do for a turn, it really isn't a wasted turn like in Magic.
Right, exactly. And you're never going to get mana starved. Or, if you've got a card that takes 3 tree mana to cast and you've only got 2 and you just can't get that last one, but your deck relies on that card, you're kind of screwed. You don't have that with this, because at most you would have to wait 3 turns to play that card. And the other thing is you have 6 slots. So in Magic, there's no slots. You play as many cards as you want and you can play as many cards as you want per turn. In Spectromancer and in card combat, you can only play 1 spell per turn, whether that's a spell or a creature, or they kind of also have things that are like enchantments, although there's very few enchantment type cards. They're almost all creature spells or regular spells, 1-use spells. You can only play 1 per turn, and you only have 6 slots. So essentially you only have 6 spots for creatures and or whatever enchantments or artifact type things. And once you fill those up, you can't cast any more creatures or
until something dies.
But you can cast spells. So if you've got 6 slots filled with creatures, you can always cast a fireball if you have one. But like I said, there's only one. You can only play one spell per turn, and you only have 6 slots for things. So, like I said, it sounds like that limits it more, but it actually makes it's important that you have that for the game, because in Magic, you could have 153 elves in front of you, or all kinds of stuff. You could just keep playing and playing and playing until you run out of mana. You can't do that here. So you could have 100 of each type of element mana, but you still can only play 1 card per turn. So
that sounds cool. I know I loved Duels of the Planewalker. I was very sad when they got away from that whole layout, because I liked the wander and find random cards and then build your deck from the random cards, but I guess there's not enough money for them to be,
Well, they just came out with one for Xbox, like recently.
But again, you can't... Well, that was the other thing that pissed me off, by the way, is that I bought the Magic game for Xbox, okay? Like, this is when, years ago, like when we went to PAX and that game came out, that one, I bought that, and that was $10, $12, something like that. Then they did the update for it, and I can't play it anymore. It wants me to buy it again.
That sucks.
Yeah, and I emailed about it, and I have not heard anything back with it, and that pissed me off to no end, because it's like, you know what, well, f*** you people, I already paid the money for the game, and now you're trying to get me to pay for it again? Just give me back the game then that I bought and let me play that then, if that's the way it's going to be. You can't make your own deck, though. That's the other thing with that. That's what was going to be my original point. You have a pre-constructed deck that as you unlock cards, you just unlock cards that you can add to the deck. You don't unlock, just random card to build your own.
They just came out with a game called Magic 2012, which was released on like June 15th of this year. And it's called Magic 2012, but it's subtitled Duels of the Planeswalkers. So it is an actual Duels of the Planeswalkers game. And what they said was they redesigned and redid the entire game, updated it with, I'm sure, the newest rule set and all that other crap. But I haven't played it. I don't even know if I downloaded the demo or not. I may have. But it's a Xbox Live Arcade game. It's 800 points. But it's a Duels of the Planeswalkers game. So anything I would assume that you could do in the original Duels of the Planeswalkers, you can do in this game. Although I don't know that. I'm guessing, like I said.
Well, knowing Magic and its ridiculous ways, I would assume that you still only have pre-constructed decks. They're not going to let you just go to town making your own decks.
Yeah, like I said, I honestly don't know. And actually, all things considered, I actually prefer like Spectromancer or kind of games like that. Like I said, because they're quicker, they're easier. You don't have to worry about being mana starved or card screwed or any kind of thing like that. It's more of you're getting mana you get the same amount of mana every single game. That never changes unless there are cards that, say your opponent gets 1 less of mana per turn kind of thing. But every turn you get a point for all of your different
pools.
Elements. Yeah, all of your different elements. So you never have to worry about that. You've got all the cards that you can have, and it just randomly picks, like, I think it's like 5 for each element that it picks. And it picks, like, per mana cost, too. So you're never going to get, like, a whole, like, all of your air cards cost 1 mana. You're never going to get that. You're going to get, like, big card, like, you're going to get a big 12 casting cost card. So it plays different every time too, and Magic is actually kind of designed for competitive play. Even though most people play it casually, it's more designed for competitive play because you need to build a deck, the whole point is that you build a deck that is competitive, that plays similarly every single time that you play it. There's some randomness to what cards you get, but if you look at like the people who play professionally and all that other stuff, they design decks that play the same every single time they play it. And when they don't play that way, it means they're going to lose because it didn't work. But even like Chris was the master of building super annoying decks that would just completely dominate people.
Or do nothing.
Yeah, if it didn't work, they did nothing and he was screwed. But when they did work, they worked very well and they were very devastating. I mean, and that can be fun too, but that's more the competitiveness. When you're playing like Spectromancer or Card Combat, it's not really designed around competitiveness, because your deck is going to play differently every single time because you never know what kind of cards you're going to get. So, I know in Card Combat you can't manipulate your deck at all. So if there's cards that you definitely like and ones that you don't, you can't say don't put these in. Like I said, though, I don't remember if you can do that in Spectromancer because it has probably been 2 years or more since I've played it. Although I may play it again because I may check out these DLC things that they have for it to see how those work out. But I think I've talked about that enough. Anyway, Card Combat for iPhone, and it's a universal game, which means you buy it once and you can play it on any of your devices. There's not a specific iPhone version and a specific iPad version.
Do they have those?
They do.
Wow, that's
very cool.
No, that's greedy, man.
Yeah.
It should be you have your log, because you have to have I'm assuming, some kind of a device login.
Use your iTunes account.
Okay, so if you buy it for iTunes, we'll say, you should be able to play it anywhere where you can log in with your iTunes.
It's the way it should work, but that is not a restriction that Apple puts in place. If you develop a game, you can develop it for one or the other, and you can make it playable on one or the other or both. And there are definite, like Angry Birds is a game that there is an iPhone version and an iPad version, and the iPad version is more expensive than the iPhone version, and they're different games. I mean, they're exactly the same game, but they're two separate downloads and two separate prices. Now, you can play any iPhone game on an iPad, but if it wasn't designed to work on an iPad, it'll always work on the iPad, but you have to essentially scale the screen. You know what I mean? So the iPhone screen is much smaller than the iPhone. So Apple designed a way, there's a little 2x button in the corner when you're playing an iPhone game or an iPhone app on an iPad, and it will zoom it in 2 times to fill the iPad screen. But if it wasn't designed to play on an iPad, then it potentially, and lots of time does, look like crap because, essentially you're taking a small screen and zooming it in 2 times. So there's that. I mean, universal means that it was designed to be able to be played on either, and if you're playing it on the iPad, it adjusts the resolution so that it looks better. But so it's not as bad as it sounds because you can buy it for the iPhone and play it on the iPad regardless of whether it's universal or not. So it just won't look as good.
Well, thank you for clearing that up.
Okay, I think we're hitting time now. So, final words for episode 247.
Stay cool, kids.
Stay classy, San Diego.
San Diego.